Good. Nicole, wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. So before we get into your good work, I want to know 5 years ago this pandemic began. We were in the middle of all of the uncertainty. Ultimately, how did you make it through that time period, and how has it affected the way that you do things today?
Wow, that is a great way to start off because, sometimes we forget about where we were 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was a Army wife and mom. My son was about to graduate from middle school, going into high school, right? So I was getting all excited about all those things. We were trying to expand our family by, having, you know, IV, not IVF, but like a less invasive procedure,
Yeah.
right? So we're going through all these things to experience that. And we had the joy. March came around. I found out I was pregnant, was all excited. Then when everything shut down, the gyms are shut down. So I'm not in the gym anymore. Um, Walmart were wearing masks. My doctor's appointments were all virtual and I was considered high risk. So what ended up resulting was a stillborn because, I just wasn't receiving the treatment. It is what it is. But going through all of those stages of everything of, you know, trying to get pregnant and like struggling with that and then facing such a heartbreak of that magnitude for me, that was probably one of the darkest places of me. When I talk about burnout to people, that was probably the epitome, the peak of my burnout. And now today, like I am at peace, right? Like I am no longer married. My son is thriving. He's a high school graduate, right? And now I've moved on from being a CPA to being a coach. So just because I want to help other people avoid, that doom and despair that I experienced during the pandemic.
Wow, that's heavy. So let me ask you this. Right now in your life in 2025, if I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, sixth graders, career day, one of the kids wants to know what you do for a living, how do you answer them?
I tell them that I'm a certified public accountant that is now a coach that helps performance and lifestyle of individuals who are struggling with burnout and are looking to reclaim their energy and their time and their life. So for a six, like for the younger kids, it's just like, when you used to dream and then we stop dreaming because we just have to take care of everyone else. It's like we're going back to the dreams and we're actually taking actions over those. So that's what I want to say. Like whatever you dream, dream big and don't give up on that because that's when we start losing ourselves and that's when we start being in alignment with what, our higher power has put us on this earth to do.
So, what did you want to be in the sixth grade? What was your dream life?
I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay, okay. So, how
Yeah.
did we get here? How did you go from accounting to coaching? Take me back to your childhood. What were these foundational elements that were woven and planted that became who you are today?
Well, I would say, going to one, I didn't like being in school all day, even though I'm a educator, like I love education. I love getting all the knowledge possible, but the idea of sitting in class for years on years. So being a doctor was a no. Being a lawyer, I was like, I don't want to argue with someone all day. And then so accounting was just one of those recession-proof jobs coming in 2008 era. And so I went into that and I just had my son. So I was just like, okay, this is going to be a guaranteed job. I'm not losing my job like some of my friends who had graduated the years before me were experiencing. So that just made sense. Oh, I had to do my taxes one day. I said, oh, this seems easy, getting on H&R Block. I said, I could do this for a living. That was not the way to go about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just the coaching was literally from the healing from all of the pandemic stresses and trauma and drama, was my need to say, I need to get out of this feeling that I'm always feeling in my body. Like I knew there was something wrong and I wanted to fix it. And once I fixed it in myself and I could see it in other people, I said, oh, I have all the information, all this knowledge that I've taken on all these years is finally coming together. And I'm going to put it back out there into the universe because it's not supposed to, I'm not a gatekeeper.
So, talk to me a little bit about that inspirational force, that hero that's helped you overcome and evolve into who you are as a professional today.
I will say me.
I like it.
I would say me, but there are so many people in my life. There's so many women like serving in the military, working for the military. I don't serve. I work as an accountant. So dealing with the soldiers and the men and the women who sacrifice so much for their families and watching what they do, especially the women, like I'm not knocking men, but women, like we're taking care of our families, we're taking care of this country, and then you're taking care of you're trying to take care of yourself, right? So I've always wanted to say, how can I make your day easier? How can I make your life easier? That is, I've always had that serving heart. So that's why the accounting made sense because it's like, how can I help my team? How can I help this company, grow? But when I got into the military side, that's when everything was just like, oh, there's more people I can serve. There's more that I can do. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally, yeah, those women.
So, speaking of inspirational people that exist on the planet, if you could meet one person alive today that's inspirational, that's fascinating, that might help you on your journey, who would you love to meet and talk to?
I'm gonna go with Oprah.
Okay.
And I will say because of just knowing where she came from in Mississippi and like having like her family history. And I don't know how many people know of that, but just like her childhood trauma and then being fired from her job like in her 30s, then going on to start the Oprah Winfrey show like in her early 40s, like literally where my life is like that transition is starting to happen. Just understanding how she was able to have grace and forgiveness for others for what they put her through and still be able to stand steadfast forward in helping other people. So just being able to sit in a room and get as much nuggets from her would just be an amazing experience for me.
So, the one thing about living in this modern day here in 2025 is there's so many things that are making people stressed out, so many things that shouldn't be happening. How, as a coach, do you help people find the hope, find that place that's better for them, and help coach them through to a good place that they can rely on, especially in this modern day and era?
Right. So one of the things is first is not trying to avoid any issues, right? We have to understand how we got here. We have to take that awareness. And then with that awareness, so we're literally doing a life audit. What has been going on? What has been going good? What has been not been going good? Okay, we've seen everything. We acknowledge this is what our life is, whether or not it's our fault, the universe fault, whoever's fault it is, this is what your life looks like. From there, it's what can we eliminate that we no longer is no longer serving a purpose for us, right? So how can we do it, right? Is it something, and we're doing it small. We're not trying to do everything at once. For example, if it's losing weight and you want to lose 100 pounds in a year, okay, let's not look at the whole thing because it's like an elephant. How can you eat it? One bite at a time. So we have to really get down to really small habits that we can start implementing. Once we start doing that, that's how we are able to start aligning with our life, right? We look at what that purpose is and how we can set ourselves up for what is it you want? What is it you want to enjoy? Close your eyes, envision yourself 30 days from now, 60. Like I want to put you on a journey, right, of your life and how it's supposed to look for you. And once you understand what that looks like, it's like, okay, now I see what you want. How are we going to go after that? What are the steps that you want to create, right? I'm not creating them for you. I'm just tapping into what you already know for yourself, right? So I'm just pulling out the questions, the answers with the questions that I'm asking you. What is it that you need? What is it that life is calling you towards? What is your body feeling, right? Because all of it is all connected. It's not just giving me the answer you think I want to hear. It's literally seeing your face light up, right? Like you start seeing joy just by a question. And you're like, oh, no one's ever asked me that before. That's where I really can go in to understand what that person needs.
So, how do you balance this life of taking on people's worlds that can be heavy and then balancing out with your life and your soul? What gets you up every day and motivates you to do all of these things at the best of your ability?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing of one of my coaching programs that I was in was going outside and getting myself grounded, right? So I literally will stand outside, even North Carolina with all our pollen right now. I will stand outside and I'll let the sun and the warmth fill my face, right? I will let my body know that I am in a safe place just because I'm here and I'm present and that I am not absorbing, I'm observing. Like I always have mixed my words around because that's what I used to do. I used to absorb everyone's information. I have always been someone that people came to, and I'm like, why is everyone telling me all their information? Not realizing that's what my God-given talent is, right? It's to take on someone's burden for them to dump on, right? And I'm totally fine with that. But understanding it's not my burden to carry, right? I was just a receiver to help them get something off their chest, and then I release it. And I'll do my prayers, I'll meditate on their behalf, and then I'll move on. Because if I sit in it, it's like with anything, you will fall into that darkness, and I'm supposed to be a light. So that's my goal. Outside is the key.
Yeah, I get it. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. You can give that young
Mhm.
version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart on that young version of you right now?
The first thing I'll tell her is stretch. Just as this age that I'm at right now. But the most important wisdom is to trust your gut, right? Like you have this intuition and it's something that's always like filling you up, but then you start hearing other people's voices and opinions and you automatically shut that voice off, right? Oh, that must be crazy talk or whatever word you want to use for that. And it's like, no, let's sit in that. Let's see why you came up with that thought. That idea came from somewhere. Because if I was to look back at my life, I was an athlete, right? So I've always had a coach. I've always known how important coaching and education and all these things were, needed. Why wasn't it something that I felt aligned with? And it might have been, oh, I heard someone say something negative. Teachers don't make enough money. Well, I don't want to be a teacher, right? Lawyers work all these hours. I don't want to do that, right? So I kept hearing all these things before I even tried it.
Yeah,
And so that 18-year-old, just go ahead and try it. Don't be
yeah,
scared. Trust your intuition.
totally. So let's say you walk into a room of everybody that you've coached that has known you from an accounting standpoint, and you walk through that room of people to a podium, and you can tell them one fun thing about you, one fun fact, one fun story to humanize you a little bit to them. What would you tell that room?
What would I tell them? Well, they know I love to travel, so I'll ask them where do they think I should go next.
Okay.
So that will be my thing because traveling is, a part of my coaching philosophy is to experience the world, whether it's just, you're going up the street or you're getting on a plane or a cruise, right? Like going outside and outside of your world and experiencing life just to appreciate what you have will make the difference. So yeah, like my next trip, I'm like, where am I going? I'm going to New York.
Okay.
I'm going to New York next week.
So, what's one of the most magical places, unexpectedly magical places that you've traveled to?
Florence, Italy.
Yeah, I've been there. It's
Florence,
wonderful.
yeah,
It's crazy.
it's amazing, and I think I went in there just expecting just to explore the culture of wine and all the things, and the landscape. But I ended up befriending the waiter, and he invited me to a club with me and my friends, and the club was owned by someone from the Bronx, and I was born in the Bronx, so it was like full circle of
Yeah.
how did we both end up in Italy and then we're dancing inside your club that you had this dream. Again, if someone followed their dreams and no one could tell them differently. And that's why I admire traveling and talking to people because it's just like, wow, you actually had a dream and you went and did it.
And the one thing about being in Italy is you realize how young America is. They've been doing this for so long. Everything is so much more antiquated. It's like we're teenagers in the global perspective of things. We're going through all these
Yes.
growing pains, and they've already
Yes.
gone through all of that a long time ago, you know?
Yes.
Wild.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done, accomplished, and achieved and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
Being a mom.
Yeah.
My son, some days I won't say motherhood is the easiest, but when I watch how he interacts with other people and other humans, then I know that I was a good role model, right? Like I showed him the example of how you show up for other people, how you treat them. And when I see him just interacting with other people or just someone just saying, he's so well mannered, it's just like, oh, okay, all those hours I used to leave for, working the crazy hours I used to, work, traveling for work, all these things. And I'm feeling like I was failing and I was falling short. And it's like, no, he was just taking what I had taught him or he was observing and is implementing it into his life. So that, like if I was going to talk about coaching, he's probably my first client
Yeah, for
without
sure.
him realizing.
The long lasting client that you won't get a paycheck, but you'll get that residual
Yes.
payback.
Yes.
So let me ask you this as a former athlete, if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one game, one sporting event with your own eyes, where are you going?
My senior year softball playoff game, semifinals. It was the day after prom. So We were tired. I had nails on.
Sure.
Usually I was a very tomboyish back then. I had just won prom queen. So all the things, and my coach was like, just go home. And I was like, yeah. Ignored him. Was not coachable at that moment. And I was the catcher. So I knew exactly how sluggish I was. I knew how I wasn't moving the same. I know I replayed that, what is that, 20 something years later, like it
Huh?
still haunts me of I let my team down because, I didn't put myself forward and take the advice from my coach.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think someone who is here to make an impact. She didn't know how she was going to do it. So all she could do was just be there for anyone and everyone, right? And I've grown as a woman, and in this business, I realized that I need to put boundaries up. And when I put those boundaries up, then then I'm in alignment, right? So now I feel like everything I do is very purposeful. Even when I wake up in the mornings, if I decide, I'm not waking up and getting out of bed at 7 o'clock, I don't have to, right? I can find something else to do. I can read, I can meditate, but if I want to get up and run, that is also my option. I think just having that final power of myself, I think that's it for her.
Dig it. So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more, any of the good business, where do they go?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I am Nicole Richards, CPA, or you can go to my website, www.cpa-coaching.com. And then you can subscribe to my newsletter and
Right on.
stay up to date with everything that's going on.
Cool. Nicole, this has been wonderful. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I had a great time today.
Great. Thank you.
Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.